Excel Chapter 2, Skills Review 1. We're going to download the student data file, open it, enable editing. We will save it in our Excel folder. Excel Chapter 2, add our last name, first initial. Okay, that completes step 1. Step 2, type your name in cell B3, right here. Step 3, type your student ID number. In cell E3. And then for steps 4 through 9, we're going to use the VLOOKUP function. So the VLOOKUP function is mentioned at the bottom of this page 305 that this assignment is on. So instead of doing this other formula that's in the textbook, we're going to practice VLOOKUP. It's a very useful function. It can be used a lot of different ways. So this is just one way to use it and to get a little bit familiar with it. So the VLOOKUP function looks up something from a cell, and we're going to have it look up these letter grades over here, and then using a table, and this will be our table, considered our table, it's going to look up the letter grade here and return the value over here. So this table has 2 columns, and it looks like this. Equals, I like to start out by typing my functions, and I'm going to double click to start my function. And we're going to look up this letter grade, type a comma, and we're going to look it up at this table here. And because we want to copy this function down, I'm going to use absolute cell reference. I'm going to use my function for key right here to add all the dollar signs that I need. And then I'm going to type another comma. And now it's asking for the column index number, and I always call that the answer. What do we want to see in return? We want to see the points per credit based on this letter grade. So we only have 2 columns in this table, so we're just going to type the number 2 and hit a comma one more time. And now it's asking if we want an approximate match or an exact match. And for this type of VLOOKUP, we need an exact match. It needs to exactly find this letter grade over here in order to return a value. So if someone had typed the letter S over here, we wouldn't get a value, and that would be appropriate, right? Because there's no letter grades within S. So I'm going to double click on exact match here. And this isn't really the end of our function, but I'm going to end it here just to show you real quick what this looks like, right? So for all the letter grades A is worth 4 points. And if I copy this down, it finds all these values. Now, why isn't it finding our letter grade B here? Let's see if there's an extra space. So here I see there's an extra space on the student data file, and I'm going to fix this. Hopefully this will be fixed on your student data file, but if I delete that space there, and that's why we use the exact match, right? So if it doesn't exactly find this, it's not going to give you a value. So we fixed that. But really the question is points per course. So what the textbook is asking us to do to figure out the points per course is to multiply the credits by how many points. So A's are worth 4 points, and it's 3 credits. So we want to multiply 3 times 4 to see how many points for a 3 credit class. So if you get an A grade in a 3 credit class, how many points is that worth? So we're just going to come to the end of this formula. I'm going to hop up here to the formula bar and type a multiplication sign. And I'm going to click in B6. So, and we'll use relative cell reference, meaning that when we copy this down, we want the applied mathematics points to look at 3 credits. We want the introduction to psychology to look at 1.5. So we want this to follow the pattern and go down. So I'll click on my check mark up here for an enter and drag this down again. And that's how we use the VLOOKUP. So much easier than having to type in the formula for each line. We only have to type it in once. We look up the letter grade. We look it up in this table. And to complete this function, we multiplied our lookup by the amount of credits to figure out the points per course. Step 10 says in B14, use the AutoSum to create a formula that calculates the total. So I'm going to click once on the AutoSum. It grabs what I want it to grab and click again. In D14, use a function to create a formula that calculates. So again, we're going to do another total here. Same thing. Click, click on the sum function tool. Step 12, in D16, we want to enter a formula that calculates the GPA, and it tells us how to do it. Divide the total points by the total credits. So all our formulas and functions start with an equal, and we are going to divide the total points, which is this number here, divided by the total credits, and hit enter, and there you go. And if you did it in the opposite direction, if we divided the credits by the points by accident, you know that this number doesn't look right. So this is one way how we can edit our work in Excel, is actually just by looking at the numbers to see if they make sense. We can see these letter grades here are A's and B's, so 3.5 makes sense as a GPA. So we know this is our math is right and we did it in the right order.